Let us offer our consecration to the Lord. Lord, we offer up to you this day as we finish the second week of Lent. Let us be filled with your Spirit. Let us be guided in all you call us to do. Let us experience your mercy and love and strengthen us as we continue to bless your name and become the people you call us to do. And we ask this through Christ our Lord. Well, today we have the famous story of Joseph, who was sold into slavery. And this is, again, as you've seen all during this time, everything is kind of jumping around, and we're not looking at anything in a linear expression. So we see the story of Joseph from Genesis. It is this part of the story we're going to see, and then it doesn't continue Monday and Tuesday. It's, again, just jumping around all around. It's Monday is one of my favorite stories. But what we're going to talk about is this is where Joseph is betrayed by his brothers. If you don't know the story, you had Israel, who was actually Isaac, and he changed his name to Israel, who, of course, was the father of the nation of Israel, and, for whom the nation of Israel was named. And we see this favored brother is Joseph. And the other brothers are, I guess you could say, they're very jealous of this Joseph. And to make a long story short, they end up selling him into slavery, and he ends up in Egypt. And that's basically how a lot of the Jews or actually the Hebrews. If you don't know the reason why I use the different terms, the term Jew comes from Judah. That's where the people began using the term. Comes from the nation of Judah, which was the southern of the two kingdoms after the one kingdom of Israel split up after several generations beyond David. And it began to split up with Solomon, and as David was told after his excursion with Bathsheba in killing her husband in order to cover it up. And so eventually, of course, the Civil War, you have the split of the two countries, the northern country and the southern country. Northern is Israel, southern is Judah. And then, of course, the northern country is conquered by the Syrians. What is left is Judah. And from that name of Judah is where we get the term Jews. And Jews are part of a religion called Judaism. So you can see it's all connected to Judah, who, by the way, is also the name of one of the patriarchs. So if we're talking about a time before the nations, before they were on the promised land, before they even have the Ten Commandments, before Moses, then obviously the name is not Jews, because Judah doesn't exist yet as a nation. So that's why you'll hear me say Hebrews, Israelis, Jews. I'll talk about Judah, because depending on the time of we're talking about, depends on who these people were, because you wouldn't call the Hebrews who left Egypt Jews, because the term Judah didn't exist yet. That nation didn't exist yet. So they were often called the Hebrews. So I just want you to know that. So you'll hear me say those words interchangeably. And so we're talking about these are the grandchildren of Abraham. So this is the nation that has been chosen by God. They're the grandchildren of Abraham. They are the sons of Isaac, who has been named Israel. And now we see that they are jealous of one of their sons, who is Joseph. And to make a long story short, he is sold into slavery. He ends up in Egypt. And with that begins this relationship between Egypt and the Hebrew nation, this relationship where they live very peacefully, and Joseph became a major force in Egypt. They live very peacefully among the Egyptians. Now, you probably know where this is going. This is eventually going to lead us to understand the story of what eventually happened with the Exodus. Because if everything is going along so well, Why does everything suddenly go wrong? And of course, many of you know the story. Probably most of you know the story, but we'll get back to that later on in Lent. But here is that part where the brothers sell Joseph into slavery. Now, it's important to understand there's several things there. You have this absolute disaster coming out of the pains of the human heart, which you have this jealousy, and they turn around, and because of their jealousy, and obviously some form of intense disrespect on their father, because how are they going to explain to their father, which they eventually do, that what they did this terrible thing? I mean, remember, Joseph is the one who they felt was favored by the father, whether that was true or not. That's what they felt. And so out of their jealousy, out of their humanness, out of their passions, they acted on them and sold Joseph into slavery. And they ultimately realized they did a terrible, terrible thing, but this is how everything begins. And it does reflect something that the Lord blesses them no matter what they do. Not blesses this action. I should change that because I may come out the wrong way. Not blesses this action, but the Lord takes this very evil action and he's able to turn it around and use it for good, which is what the Lord does. But that does not mean that we should do evil actions so that they can be used for good, because it doesn't work that way. But the Lord is the Lord, and he is more powerful than even the most evil of humans, and he can undo the evil and turn it for good. We'll be back right after this. Have you told anyone else about St. Anthony Overnight from St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts, here on WEZE in the early morning and through CatholicAudiomedia.com?
You realize we are a different Catholic program because we are not speaking just to Catholics.
We speak to ex-Catholics, atheists, evangelicals, and people from all different religious and non-religious backgrounds.
We do this from a Catholic perspective.
So you're not going to hear what you hear on other programs because we have a different mission serving Jesus Christ.
Tell your friends what we do here is different, and it is so that we all may experience Jesus, who sets us all free. And don't forget, we are here every single Monday through Friday at midnight and 3 o'clock in the morning on WEZE. And don't forget our website, CatholicAudiomedia.com. Share the information if you'd like. Let other people know where they can find us. Also, keep in mind that if you would like to really help the show, something that would really be a favor to us if you'd like to, if you want to contribute to the Catholic Appeal and you don't have a parish to connect your appeal donation to. Now, let me explain to you what that means. It's not that the money goes to the parish, but the parish is credited as having contributed so much to the Catholic Appeal. That's all. So it's not that the money necessarily goes to the parish. It's that the parish has a goal, and if you say, well, I've contributed so much money, and I would like it to go towards the goal that such and such a parish is trying to reach, you know, that's how you do it. Well, we don't have on the radio station. We don't have a goal, and the radio show program and the parish does have a goal, and we will meet our goal. But it lets the diocese know if you say, well, I just want you to know that I did this because I was listening to the radio show, that it tells them how important this radio program is to you. So please consider that. And remember, we are St. Anthony Overnight from St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts. Well, anyway, so I wanted to talk about this. So what you have there is that the Lord ultimately is able to take the worst of all evil and turn it into good, but that doesn't give justification for doing the worst of all evil. As a matter of fact, those who commit evil will be punished for it, but the Lord still has to deal with the effects of evil. And so that's one of the important things you're looking at, where you see that this evil that is done by the brothers of Joseph is now turned to what is good eventually, and then it ultimately goes through this whole process that ultimately leads to God particularly choosing these people to bring his message to the world of monotheism, of the laws and the wisdom of God that you can find in no other religions. Remember, one of the first things that is taught, which you can see in the book of Genesis, which is also, it's the earlier part of the book of Genesis, also what this passage is from. One of the first things that is taught is that the Jews are forbidden, the Hebrews are forbidden from practicing human sacrifice. And we can look at that today and say, well, is that really so important? I mean, how many nations are practicing human sacrifice? Well, during their time, most nations did that, even those who never connected with each other. So it happened, we all know it happened on this continent from north to south. So we know that, and it's a fascinating thing. And there are some people that would say that human sacrifice is happening in other ways. That's a story for another time. But what we do see very clearly is that a great evil has happened by these brothers to Joseph, and the Lord is able to work many things, but not because they did the evil. It's that he's able to take the effects of the evil and turn it around. We'll be back on Monday. Have a blessed weekend. I want to call your attention to Catholic TV, which offers great faith-filled, family-friendly programming 24 hours a day. You can find your cable channel at www.getcatholictv.com, and you can watch online on the free apps or check out the YouTube channel. Daily Mass, Rosaries, the Divine Mercy Chaplet, and the Our Lady of Perpetual Help Novena are all available online and on demand. Check out CatholicTV.com. If you would like to support our program, please consider a donation to St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts. There are several ways to consider this. One is to purchase any of our merchandise, which you can find at the shopping tab at CatholicAudiomedia.com. That's CatholicAudiomedia.com. There are coffee mugs there. There's also my latest book, Encounter Christ in Your Humanity, all of which you can find at the shopping tab at CatholicAudiomedia.com. You can also donate to the show directly through either the Donate tab, also at CatholicAudiomedia.com, or by sending a donation through the U.S. Postal Service with your questions and comments at 43 Holton Street, Allston, Massachusetts, 02134. That's St. Anthony Parish, 43 Holton Street, Allston, Massachusetts, 02134. Finally, the best way you can support our parish is to attend Mass on Sundays at 10 o'clock and be a part of our parish. We thank you for any support you would like to give to St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts, the sponsoring parish for this media outreach to Catholics and other Christians in the WROL, WEZE, and podcast listening audience. In Cristo vivimos.